KLTX.
The News Observer, the Greensboro Daily News, the Winston-Salem Journal, and I saw Dan Rather trying to avoid announcing who was the winner in North Carolina. And did you see the news report? I guess it was last night or this morning that cousin Jimmy Carter came to North Carolina yesterday. Did you see that? And he claimed kinship. He said he was my cousin. Not so fast, Jimmy. He embraced the other guy in the Senate race, and he declared that some folks overseas don't like the present chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Said that they had told him in Roslyn about that. Well, he ought to hear what the heads of state and the diplomatic personnel say about him. I don't want to dwell on it, but I think I offended former President Carter when I refused to let one of his buddies be confirmed, and the president had nominated him, but one of the Democrats told me that when he found out that this guy was not going to be confirmed, Bill Clinton said, "Oh, don't tell me that." He didn't even want him either, see? Now, let me be honest about it. I like Jimmy Carter personally, but I'm certainly relieved that his 4 years in the White House are behind us and not ahead of us. Let me be serious with you. Nobody could love you more or admire you more than I do, and I come here with a heart full of gratitude, as does my best friend for the past 54 years. And I can guarantee you one thing, there's going to be 6 more years of torment for Ted Kennedy and all those other liberals.
And this is the 96 vote.
You're looking at a live picture from the Embassy Suites Hotel in downtown Des Moines, where Iowa Democrats are holding what they hope will be a series of victory parties.
Across town at the Hotel Fort Des Moines, the Republicans are gathering, hoping the numbers stack up in their favor. Good evening, I'm Sonia Heidt-Susan.
I'm Mike Keene. We'll be going live to our News 5 election coverage locations in a moment.
But first, we want to take a look at the latest up-to-the-minute results, starting with a look at how Iowans are voting in the presidential election. With 9% of the precincts reporting, we have Clinton with 53% of the vote, Dole 40%, and Perot 7%. Taking a look at the U.S. Senate, Harkin in a close race with Lightfoot, 55% for Harkin, Lightfoot 45%, that's with 34% of the precincts. We also want to take a look at the 4th District congressional race, or excuse me, 3rd District congressional race. This has Boswell with 53% of the vote, 46% for Mike Mahaffey. That is with only 3% of the precincts reporting at this point. And do we have any other results at this point? We don't, but we want to go ahead and go with our coverage of the Democratic headquarters, and Tom Cox is standing by live there. And we understand that Senator Tom Harkin should be making what we believe is a victory speech very soon here. Tom?
That is what we're anticipating. In fact, the Harkin camp has told us that he would be out here momentarily. So we're just standing by waiting. Obviously, it's a very jubilant crowd here with Harkin well ahead. 55% to 45%. Jim Ross Lightfoot's 45%. So It's a victory party as far as the rank and file troops are concerned here, but we're waiting for the victor to give his speech.
All right, at this point, we have Harkin ahead, certainly with 34% of the precincts reporting. That's information that was just handed to us. He is leading Jim Ross Lightfoot 55 to 44%. And apparently the Harkin faction feels that it's a done deal. The Republicans are about a dozen or so blocks away at the downtown Hotel Fort Des Moines. Lena Vanier is there, and she joins us live for an update. Lena?
Well, Mike, we are waiting for the Republican candidates to come down. Now, as you said, ABC has declared Harkin the winner, but we spoke with Jim Ross Lightfoot earlier, and he didn't seem very worried. This is what he had to say.
Kind of like a political campaign to me is a whole lot like a ball game, if you want to use that analogy. It may not be the best in the world, but you do put together a plan, and you work your plan right to the end of it. And you have to make.
Okay, joining me live is Monte Shaw. He's the deputy campaign manager for the Lightfoot campaign. You don't seem very concerned about these numbers.
Well, actually, we're starting to see some positive trends as more and more of the precincts get in. We're starting to see some of the other congressional seats, such as Congressman Gansky, Congressman Leach, Congressman Nussel, them start to open leads. When the early results showed them down, our race is also tightened from like 60% is down to 54, I think, 55, somewhere in there. And as the rest of the precincts be counted, we think there's going to be a lot closer race, and we're going to sit here and wait and see what happens.
Okay, thanks a lot, Monty. And of course, we're still waiting for the results in the 4th congressional race. That is too tight. I believe the latest numbers show 50% Gansky and 50% with McBurney. When we have the results, or when the candidates come down, we will be back live for you.
All right, thank you, Lena. And the latest numbers we show in the 4th District congressional race with 32% of the precincts reporting. As Lena said, Gansky 50%, McBurney 49%. Very tight race there.
Jeff Stein chomping at the bit. I can tell, you know, we haven't really heard from you for a while. Can you make some sense out of some of this?
Well, it's still fairly early, but when you look at the congressional races, nearly half the precincts are in, and Jim Leach is in a fight for his life with the champ.
No su derrota, primero se dijo que sí, después se retractaron, dijeron que no, que él todavía no ha aceptado su derrota. ¿Qué es lo que has escuchado tú?
Todavía no, varias veces la gente aquí ha pedido a viva voz que salga Bob Dole, el hombre que han estado esperando desde hace horas. Hace apenas instantes se nos dijo que Bob Dole estaría aquí frente a todos sus simpatizantes en solamente 15 minutos. Así que por ahora solo nos queda esperar. Hasta el momento él no ha dicho que ha perdido esta elección. Hubo una confusión en un principio, había un comunicado de prensa que había dicho que sí, que la había perdido, pero después eso fue retractado. Así que aquí simplemente estamos esperando. 15 minutos nos dijeron y estamos contando esos minutos. Marilena.
Luis, contrario a lo que muchos pensaban, el Partido Republicano ha logrado mantener el control tanto de la Cámara de Representantes como del Senado. Incluso aparentemente en la Cámara de Representantes han ganado un escaño más. ¿Están celebrando por eso y es lo que se esperaba?
Eso es lo que han estado prácticamente pronosticando desde hace tiempo. Mucha gente nos decía aquí fuera de cámara que no tenían demasiadas esperanzas esta noche de que Bob Dole fuera elegido presidente de los Estados Unidos. Pero sabían que algo iban a tener que celebrar. Estaban seguros a la vez de que iban a poder retener el control de la Cámara de Representantes y el control del Senado. Aparentemente esta noche, por lo que sabemos, lo han logrado.
Muchísimas gracias, Luis Mejía, acompañándonos desde Washington. Regresaremos contigo un poco más adelante en este programa especial. El candidato del Partido Reformista, Ross Perot, fue el primero que concedió su derrota esta noche en persona y de manera muy formal. Hablando por varias cadenas de televisión, Perot dijo que espera haber causado un impacto en la contienda presidencial cuando fue votar. Varias horas antes, Perot le pidió a los norteamericanos que votaran con su conciencia.
Sin duda un fracaso grande para Ross Perot, que hace 4 años había obtenido cerca del 19% del voto, ahora se ha reducido a menos de la mitad de lo que había obtenido entonces. Vamos a continuar con esta cobertura. Tenemos los vaticinios de algunos de los ganadores en las contiendas congresionales en California. Ya cerraron las urnas, por lo tanto lo podemos hacer. Esto es lo que tenemos hasta el momento. Javier Becerra del Distrito 30 ganó, pero esto no es sorpresa. Javier Becerra no tenía ningún contrincante en el Distrito 30 de California. Un puesto más de los hispanos.
Lucille Roybal Ayar, también siguiendo los pasos de su padre, también se postuló sin contrincante y logró ser reelegida.
Y Esteban Torres del Distrito 34 de California se encuentra exactamente en la misma situación que...
Also
change. Republicans as well. I understand we have Senator Strom Thurmond in our crosshairs talking to his supporters in South Carolina. We go there now.
And before Tony took over this campaign, and before we got started, Mr. Mark Gooden came down and turned the thing around and got it going. Mark Gooden did a great job. The campaign staff has never been a finer working staff that's more loyal and more helpful than they are. The chairman, Tony Denny. Tony! Where is he? Come up here and let him see it.
93-year-old Strom Thurmond. He will be 100 years old at the end of this term that he has been re-elected. Well, 99 years old at the end of this term that he'll be re-elected to, has just been re-elected.
He has that wonderful old South accent. I'm sure that some viewers wanted to have subtitles there to make out what he was saying.
That's right. Well, you just have to understand Southern. Some of us do. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with much, much more. We'll be back.
Here.
I'm not at all. Minnesotans, you have given me and you have given my family the honor of a lifetime. It is a labor of love being a senator from Minnesota, and if from time to time, in order to change the system and have reform, I have to take on the tobacco companies or oil companies, so be it, so be it, we'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it. And those folks, and those powerful special interests, they made this race their #1 target. They made Minnesota the #1 target, but they forgot that I was blessed in being a senator from Minnesota. Minnesotans rejected it, and I had you, and we won this race. They didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't know we'd do literature drops at midnight. They didn't know we'd go door to door. They didn't know about the green bus. They didn't know we'd go neighbor to neighbor. They didn't know we'd go grassroots. We won the race. We did it together. From the bottom of our heart, we thank all of Minnesota. We thank all of you. You have been the greatest supporters. You've been by our side all of the time. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your friendship. We thank you for taking this journey with us. We thank you for your love. We love you. Let's go on and do well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Senator Paul Wellstone, now a side.
Voters in Dallas County had some issues on their minds, in addition, of course, to what politicians to vote for.
The main one, of course, the gambling referendum. And Don Taylor is live in Adel. And what are the latest results there, Don? Big issue about putting a riverboat casino at Clearwater Beach.
Yeah, we had the absentee ballots counted and the no ballots, a little bit more, about 1,500 to 1,000 on just the absentees. Still very early. Right now, we're here at the gathering for Casino America. I'm joined by Chris Rice. Tell me a little bit about the anticipation here tonight.
Well, we've been out since 7 o'clock this morning, making friends, knocking on doors, helping to get the vote out. We concentrated on the big cities, so those are the results we're waiting for. So far, we have the absentees in the rural areas. We're really waiting for Waukee, Adel, and Perry to come in. It's been a long day, and we're anxiously awaiting the results.
I know we talked to some of the people on the other side of the issue earlier tonight. They said that they felt outmatched by you guys because of the money-wise. Do you think that's an issue?
Well, it was tough getting our message out, so we had, not being from the area, we wanted to get the facts out as best we could, and that's what we think we did. We run a fair campaign, and it was all factual. We just tried to put out the facts and let people decide for themselves. So now it's in God's hands.
All right, and if everything is approved tonight in Dallas County, then you have another step. Tell me about that.
Well, once it's approved tonight, then in December we'll submit to the gaming board. We hope they'll make a decision in early spring, so let's say by April they would give us the license. It would probably be summer of 1998 before we'd be open up.
All right, Chris, I appreciate you guys joining us, and as the numbers come in, we'll be talking to you later. And that's all from Dallas County for right now. Back to Sonia and Mike.
All right, thanks, Don.
And while we wait for numbers, let's take a look at Dallas County and some of the issues there.
Well, what you have is a well-financed company who wants to put a casino boat there, and that's what they were just talking about in the report about the money. Obviously, those who have a financial interest in putting a riverboat casino on that piece of property are going to be well-financed. They're going to have the head start, and so it's very tough for any group who wants to stop that to be able to mount an effective challenge, and I think that's what they were just discussing. However, there does get to be a point, and no pun intended when we're talking about riverboat gambling, there's a saturation point at which the citizens are just not going to look for any more gambling, and there's plenty of it in this area. So we'll just have to see. The numbers slow to come in, and I think that is because there is such a heavy turnout there in Dallas County, and so we're going to have to wait a while to see the answer on that.
Also, the Dallas County Sheriff's race, a write-in candidate there, deputy going against his boss.
And that's interesting, and this is pure speculation, so let's not take this too far, but in an earlier report we learned that if there's a write-in vote, the automatic vote counting machine kicks the ballot out, and then they have to read that write-in vote by hand, and that obviously slows down the process. So there could be a variety of reasons why this is happening.
Well, we saw some preliminary figures, and we'll send those along to you, but the outlook for the Iowa House and Senate, as we mentioned, could change dramatically when next year's session begins.
A number of seats are up for grabs.
Between 6 and 26 seats in the House of Representatives.
Not that you all are excited or anything, but this is pretty amazing. Let me say, first of all, to all of you, that I, on behalf of Mary Ann and my mom, who's here but didn't feel comfortable coming up on the stage, and I might say in passing for a second that I hope my dad is watching this. He is in a hospital in Harrisburg and is not doing very well, and so many of you, he was here 2 years ago when we won the speakership the first time, and he really, we miss him here tonight, and I hope all of you put him in your prayers because he's got a fairly serious condition. My mom's down, but she didn't feel comfortable. She has a cataract, and she didn't feel comfortable coming up on the stairs, so she's watching all this. But I want to tell all of you on behalf of my whole family, you know, to have the kind of friends that we have, to have the kind of volunteers, to have people who put up a yard sign in their yard 4 and 5 times because it kept getting taken down, to have... And I know they left the stage, but to have Linda and to have Babe Burns and to have the chairman right here and to have all the different friends we had from all over the district. And the fact is that our opponent spent about $3 million, most of it out of his own pocket. And it's wonderful to live in a country where people can start out and by riding a bicycle and selling cookies, they can have the extra resources. It's wonderful. But the fact is, in this district, it was the people power of all the folks who went out all over this district that made the difference. And I look out over so many, I look out over so many personal friends and people who've been involved in the campaign and people I've known for years. And I'm now of an age where people come up and tell me that they were glad they took my course 20 years ago and I'd like to meet their son or daughter who's going to vote for me this year. And, you know, you begin to realize that it becomes a generational thing. And I just can't tell you what it means to all of us, to Paul and to Kathy, to Jackie and Jimmy, to Mary Ann and myself, to be able to look out here. See, this really is a jam-packed. I think there are twice as many people here tonight as there were the last time we did this. I look over here at Mark Grundon, who's now, I think, what, 6'5"? I knew Mark Grundon.
House Speaker Newt Gingrich feeling very good at this hour. He's going back to Washington, and he's won in his district. Bill Snyder, you've been looking at some of the exit polling out of there.
And Newt Gingrich doesn't do too well in the exit poll. This is nationwide, mind you, not in his district. And nationwide, voters are 2-to-1 unfavorable in their view of Newt Gingrich. 60% have an unfavorable opinion of the Speaker. 31% have a favorable opinion. Now, the Republicans tried to use Hillary Rodham Clinton, the First Lady, as a kind of scare figure, but Americans are divided over the First Lady, 49 favorable, 46 unfavorable. Gingrich, there's a decided tilt to the negative nationwide, but obviously not in his district, one of the most Republican in the country.
Okay, thank you. Well, we still have outstanding Washington and California, but by our interpretation of what we're getting in, it appears that the Republican Party, when the 105th Congress is sworn in January, the Republican Party will be in retention of supremacy in both houses. Incidentally, if you're keeping track and wondering about 6 states, we indeed have not called 6 states. We have not called Arizona. We have not called Colorado, Georgia, South Dakota, Nevada, or Montana. And also, people are still voting up there in Alaska. Wolf Blitzer, you've been down there in Little Rock ever since the president and his party arrived in the early hours of the night or morning. I asked Leon Panetta a question which he didn't address frontally. He didn't want to hear that. And I said I wasn't trying to take away anything from the victory, the obvious victory. I asked him, when does lame duck disease begin to set in? And he backed away from that question.
Well, there's no surprise in that, Bernie. The president certainly, according to his aides, is not feeling as if he's a lame duck. He's feeling very excited, and we should be seeing him soon. We do have a bit of news, though, Bernie. The White House press.
Very tight race at one point with Jim Ross Lightfoot making a huge surge in the final days. Also a very negative race in the final days as far as the campaign ads.
Jeff Stein is here and watching the happy group of Democrats. Is this something that you might have expected? Do you think it might have been closer?
Well, as we were discussing earlier, if Lightfoot maybe had another week, this might have tightened up some, but I think Harkin was the heavy favorite going in. He maintained that lead. We've just looked at the AP Wire to get some projections of the new U.S. Congress, and it looks as if the Democrats will pick up 4 seats in the U.S. House. That still gives the Republicans a huge lead. In the U.S. Senate, the GOP will actually pick up a seat, so they will be expanding their lead. So even though on the national level, Bill Clinton has a huge electoral college victory and a fairly sizable popular vote victory now, the Democrats are going to make very few strides in the U.S. House and actually lose some ground in the Senate. Tom Harkin, though, will be returning in the Democratic column after this election tonight.
Clinton will still have a tough row to hoe, as you're saying. You said also Harkin is well liked by Iowans. He's just a guy that Iowans like.
Tom Harkin resisted the liberal label. He called himself a populist in the last couple of weeks of this campaign. And as you can see, with the vote totals the way they are, there are a lot of Republicans who had to vote for Tom Harkin tonight in order for him to win, just as was the case each of the last 2 times he has tried for the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, he is no doubt savoring this moment, and you had some breakout on how that voting went. I know that in some areas expected that conservatives went for Lightfoot and those of a more liberal bent went for Harkin.
There just seemed to be more liberals voting.
Yeah, we looked at the exit polling, and abortion, it seems, was the key issue. Those who said abortion should be legal in all cases, those were Harkin's people. Those who said it should be illegal in all cases, those were Lightfoot's people. Harkin and Lightfoot split the votes. This is according to Associated Press exit polling. Harkin and Lightfoot split the votes from those who said it should be legal in most cases and from those who said it should be illegal in most cases. That's a key category. Right.
Interrupt you for just a moment. I think Senator Tom Harkin is just about ready to give his victory speech here. He is thanking his supporters who have had a tough race here with Jim Ross Lightfoot.
He'll give his speech as soon as the enthusiastic crowd gives him an opportunity. He's given the thumbs up sign. Here he goes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. First, let me
wait. You got it. Thanks, Ann. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks, Ann. So many of you, thank you very, very much. Thank you. Let me just first say, thank you, Iowa. Thank you for giving me an honor that has been denied to every member of our party since this state was founded, a third term in the United States Senate. Thank you. Now, you know, there's an old saying that rough weather makes good timber. Well, I want you to know I've had some rough weather. And you got some good timber. Now, I would be less than candid if I didn't say, well, the last couple of weeks were, well, how shall I put it? Well, around our house, we would call it a character building experience. There are so many that I want to thank. But first and foremost, I must thank those that are nearest and dearest to me. My wife, Ruth, of 28 years, my daughters, Amy and Jenny, right here.
I was just thinking on the way down. I was thinking on the way downstairs. Thank you. I was just thinking on the way downstairs. I was thinking on the way down in the elevator, tomorrow will be the first time in my life I don't have anything to do. But I wanted to come down and thank all of you. You've done a great job, and I'm very proud of Trent. We're going to keep the Senate. We're going to keep the House. We're going to... Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me say that I've talked to President Clinton. We had a good visit, and I congratulated him. And I've said, wait a minute. Now, I've said repeatedly,